Stories from around the corner.
And around the country.
You're listening to All the Best.
Proudly supported by the Art Gallery of New South Wales.
You're listening to All the Best from FBI Radio 94.5. I'm Kwame Slusher. Before we get into this week's stories, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that I'm recording from stolen and Gadigal land, and pay my respect to Gadigal elders past and present, and also recognize that the area where FBI Radio is situated, Redfern, has long been a place of storytelling, strength, resistance, and resilience for First Nations communities. The experience of exploring childhood memories can vary greatly from person to person. Sometimes, this emotional excavation can be painful, bringing up unwanted memories that you might not be ready to face. But it can also be a beautiful experience, allowing you to rediscover with fresh eyes the places or people you knew or thought you knew as a child. In this episode, we explore two very different stories about revisiting places and memories. In the first story, I speak with my dad about ham radio and some of the ways we always seem to be on different frequencies. Frequency by Kwame Slusher.
CQ, CQ, CQ. This is Victor 31 Foxtrot Alpha calling CQ. My name is Alan Slusher, otherwise known in some parts of the radio circles as Sammy D.
In our family circle, we just call him Dad. When I called him over Zoom, he was in Belize, a country in Central America, jutting out into the Caribbean Sea and the Yucatan Peninsula, squashed between Mexico, Guatemala, and Honduras. My dad lives in the city called Burl Boom, which is just 60 kilometers northeast of the capital city of Belmopan.
I give the assigned call sign that the authorities in Belize have assigned to me, which is V, number 3, number 1, F.
What my dad is describing here is the first steps of an amateur radio operator talking to other amateur radio operators.
Number 1, Foxtrot Alpha. And I'm saying I'm listening for anyone who wants to make a contact. And the way I do that is by saying CQ, CQ, CQ. This is Victor 31 Foxtrot Alpha calling CQ and standing by. And then I listen.
When did you first come into contact with ham radio?
That puts me way back in time. This would have been around, I think, maybe in 1958, 1959. I came across an old radio course that my dad had from one of these online, well, not online, one of these correspondence training institutions out of the US. And I was fascinated because he had a whole course in there in booklet form. There was a mention of ham radio and the usefulness of ham radio in times of emergencies when the normal communications facilities don't work.
While my dad was still in high school in the early 60s, Hurricane Hattie would hit Belize. And he'd get to see firsthand the power of ham radio. When all normal lines of communications fell apart, the few ham radio operators in his area were able to tune in and get accurate information about the movements of the hurricane. He was hooked. But the problem was that kind of equipment was bulky and expensive. Think rectangular radio, all knobs and dials stacked on top of each other, giving him the power that we all take for granted today, the power to connect with people all over the world. Eventually, my dad graduated from high school and went to university in Jamaica. And he transitioned straight from study into his job. He moved to Barbados, met and married my mum. When I was born, he brought us all back to Belize to live. Ham radio had ceased to be a priority. On July 27th in 1990, Abu Bakr, leader of the Jamaat al-Muslimin, led a coup.
22 people have been killed, at least 100 injured.
The Prime Minister and members of the Cabinet are under arrest. We are asking everybody to remain calm.
My grandmother was visiting us in Belize, but we had no way of contacting my granddad, who stayed in Trinidad.
But I remembered where the Trinidad guys hung out on the radio. So I went to that frequency and very quickly got in contact with a couple of them. And then what they did was to connect their radios to the internal Trinidad telephone line, which were not blocked. It was only the overseas connections into Trinidad and out worked out. They connected their radios to the telephone line and called your granddad. And we had beautiful conversations going on.
A childhood memory. My dad in the studio. The smell of bare and burning wire. An image of him hunched over a disassembled radio wearing soldering glasses. The garbled whine of the radio. Those annoying times when I was listening to music in my room and suddenly his voice would leak through the song that I was listening to.
You never told me that I was disturbing you at any point in time.
My dad and I didn't spend all that much time together. We didn't talk much or do father and son activities like I'd seen my friends doing with their fathers. Over the years, I spent a lot of time in my room, playing video games, then listening to music, and then reading. But not reading the things I was supposed to be reading. I was struggling in school, and my dad told me on many occasions how much that embarrassed him. For him, it wasn't that I wasn't smart enough. It was that, in his eyes, I was just lazy. I resented him and imagined that he resented me. So on the occasion when he did try to reach out, my instinct was just to shut down.
Feel free to not answer a question if it makes you uncomfortable. So how did you feel about me not accepting this, I guess, a kind of bridge between us?
I never understood, and I still don't, what the difficulties were. All right. All I knew that it hit me one day that every time I tried to get you to do something that probably you didn't really, really want to do, or so on, you would make sure that your mom got jealous. Right? And I suppose that was one of the issues that led to what happened subsequently, because she accepted that willingly.
What happened subsequently is that my parents would separate.
So far as I was concerned at the time, that she understood that you needed protection. When I thought that you're my son and I love you. I guess that is where the ham radio filled a little bit of a void. But I recognized that it was an escape, and maybe I was turning away a little bit from that, because trying to fill the void with ham radio wasn't helping me in any way. And I was really torn up.
We were strangers to each other. He traveled a lot for work. But instead of trying to bridge that gap between us, I just wished that I had a different kind of father. And I found that in my friends' fathers. And I always felt that he wished he had a different kind of son. And maybe he found that in my friends. I understand something that I didn't understand before. That my dad was having trouble at work, and I was adding to the problems at home. So for him, ham radio became a kind of sanctuary.
CQ. This is Victor 31 Foxtrot Alpha, calling CQ.
To sign off from the ham radio world is to say 73s, or 73s to you. This comes from the Wild West, where one cowboy would basically say to another cowboy,
I tell you 73, meaning that I'm giving my Winchester 73 rifle to you. My 73 to you. You are such a good friend that I'm willing to give you my gun. So 73 to you.
Now, with a twist of a dial, ham radio has taken on a new meaning for me. Not because I want to get involved in it. That will never happen. But now it feels like there is a shared frequency between us, me and my dad. Then we didn't need a natural disaster or a coup for that to happen. 73s to you. That story was produced by me, Kwame Slusher, and the supervising producer was Thomas Liu. Our next story starts in the neighborhood of San Rafael, just west of the city center of Mexico City. Producer Dan Semo is back in the city he grew up in, a city he hasn't been back to for over 20 years, and he's in search of a really good taco.
Now, you might think from all the loud music in the background that this is a bumping part of town, like the heart of the nightlife area or something, but it's actually not. And it's 1 o'clock on a Monday afternoon. That music is just coming from the speakers of street vendors, selling clothes and toys and fake acrylic nails. But I'm here to check out one of the hottest foodie spots in the city, a taco place called El Califa de Leon. It's a pretty unassuming place. It's got a red and white sign above its doors. It's got a skillet looking out onto the pavement. Half of it reserved for the meats, the other half for the tortillas, freshly made on site. There's only about 4 seats available. Everyone else has to stand somewhere between the vendors on the sidewalk. And on this Monday afternoon, El Califa de Leon has already got a long queue of customers down the street. I'm standing behind a group of friends from the US. One of them, Sophia from California, points at her friend Bethany and tells me how they both ended up here today.
So this is what happened today. She and I flew in, and then she said, there's a Michelin star place that we need to go to, and then we said, okay, and then we're here. I don't know anything about this place.
Yeah, so last month, El Califa de Leon became the first taco stand to receive a Michelin star. And ever since then, it's been lines like this down the block every single day. I asked the friends if they knew what they were ordering today.
The only thing we know is the gaunera, which is like a beef maybe.
Yeah.
But so we'll probably get that.
But the menu seems very plain, so it should be pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Sophia is right. The menu has only 5 options. 4 types of tacos and soft drinks. And the Califa didn't receive that star because of anything fancy that they do. The taco that Bethany mentioned, the gaunera, was singled out by the Michelin Guide, but it's basically just a seasoned beef fillet on a corn tortilla. That's it. And here we all are, standing out in the 30-degree sun, waiting for it. After about 30 minutes, spirits are starting to wane. A couple of the other friends, Olivia and Natalie, decided that they couldn't stand the wait and went to grab some other food down the street. So, what are you having?
I got a torta al pastor with con quesillo from this place that's like 2 stores down.
How long did you have to wait for that one?
Not at all. It was very quick.
No
He
time.
made it right in front of us and then gave it to us.
He did do that, yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Would you like to try?
I'm all right, thank you. I'll wait for the famous one. So, fast forward another 25 minutes, and we're almost there. The club music has thankfully died down by now, but we hear some bad news.
They they ran out of the gaonera, but they'll have more in 45 minutes.
If you're committed to waiting.
I'm not going to wait another 45.
Yeah, I didn't wait 45 minutes. I end up ordering a couple of rib tacos and a Coke. I stand in the front, waiting for my order, and I have a chat with the man behind the grill, a taquero named Jacinto.
Hola. Hola, amigo. Hola, ¿cómo está? ¿Le puedo hacer unas preguntas? Por favor, sí, adelante. ¿Cómo le parece esto del Michelin, de la estrella Michelin?
Jacinto is rail thin with immaculate white hair. He's covered in tattoos and he calls everyone amigo. He's been cooking for 40 years and he says that the secret to these tacos is just the quality of the meat.
La calidad de la carne, la receta de los jefes.
But he also praises the rest of his team and says that the trick is ultimately about enjoying what you do. If you don't enjoy what you do, you're not going to get good results. So let's see what results we got.
Daniel, okay, Daniel, mira, ¿vale?
Muchas gracias.
I check in with the American friends and I get their verdict on the Michelin-grade tacos. They liked what they had, but some of them were a little underwhelmed.
I need there to be other things in addition for it to really be that good.
Like cilantro, onion.
Cilantro, onions, cheese, other sauces.
Salsa.
Yeah, just the plain meat is not enough for me.
Olivia didn't necessarily need a lot of extras, but was expecting a little more.
I really liked it. I think I could, if it were like, could have a taco that was just the meat and the tortilla be like phenomenal with the sauce, but I think that it was not that level.
As for me, I tend to agree with them. There is something nice about the simplicity of it all, like a Ron Swanson or a Jiro Dreams of Sushi minimalism, about a good quality piece of meat on a bed of soft starch. I appreciate that. But today, I needed a little more. So I head down to the neighborhood of La Condesa. It's a residential area, but these days it's become quite gentrified and is popular with expats and digital nomads. But I remember it as the home of one of my favorite food spots, El Tizoncito. It's one of the most famous taco restaurants in Mexico City. It calls itself the home of the taco al pastor, the shepherd's taco. If a gaonera taco is a tribute to minimalism, then the taco al pastor is like a postmodern masterpiece. It started off with Lebanese immigrants bringing the shawarma to Mexico with its marinated meats cooked on a vertical spit. Then Mexico, as it usually does, added its own influence, changing the beef or lamb of the shawarma to pork, adding chili to the marinade, placing it on a corn tortilla, then topping it off with chopped onions, cilantro, and a chunk of pineapple, and usually finished with red salsa. El Tizoncito claims to have invented the taco al pastor, but who knows if that's true? And who cares really? I remember coming here as a kid, sitting at the bar near the grill, and being mesmerized by the taqueros, the taco makers. There's an artistry to making a taco al pastor. It's about precise gestures and delicate choreography. It's the turning of the meat on the spit with the tip of the knife, the slicing of the meat into 6 or 7 thin, juicy bits with a hint of crispy char at the edges. It's the flick of the wrist to hurl a pineapple chunk into the air and then catching it on the taco at hip height. It's the sprinkle of onion and cilantro, the dollop of sweet salsa, and finally resting it on the plastic plate. The guy on the spit today is also an old-timer. His name is Secundino. They call him El Seco, the dry one. He's going to retire soon. It's tough doing what he does. I mean, imagine standing in front of a charcoal fire 9 hours a day. A single wrong flick of the knife and you can slice a finger. Most guys who try it don't last very long. El Seco has been around for almost 40 years, which brings something to mind.
Bueno.
Hola.
Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estás?
Bien, bien. ¿Y tú? ¿Cómo está Vietnam?
Bien, bien. Bien, está muy caliente, muy caliente.
Okay, so that's my dad. He's in Vietnam at the moment, traveling with my mom, but mostly stuck in the hotel room because of a heat wave. I told him about my trip today. Today I went to a place that you know well. Can you guess what it is?
Tacos al pastor, tizoncito.
Exactly. You're completely right. So I went to the original tizoncito in La Condesa, and I had some tacos al pastor, and I was talking to el taquero, the guy making the tacos al pastor, and I showed him a picture of you, and I'm gonna play you what he said. Okay?
Bien.
Es mi papá, viene desde...
La ha atendido.
¿La ha atendido?
Sí.
Bueno, seguramente él se acuerda también.
A lo mejor sí, le mando un saludo. Sí.
Muy bien.
Que esté bien, que eche ganas, vamos a seguir adelante, ¿no?
Bueno, muchas gracias.
What do you think?
Wow, amazing. Yes, I mean, yes. He's sending me greetings. I'm sending it was after 30 years or, yeah. I mean, the first time I went to El Tizoncito, it was in 1971. And this is when Tacos al Pastor was starting in Mexico. And it was there exactly in that corner. It was a very little place. I still remember that day.
So and then you would take me there, I guess, in the 90s. Well, so what do you remember about taking me there?
We were very careful with what you were eating. We were not giving you so many tacos al pastor, but you were sitting there where they were making the las quesadillas and the el queso fundido. So you were sitting there and you were waiting for your quesadilla, and they knew you as el güerito, the little blondie. Ya llegó el güerito y denle su quesadilla. Give him his quesadilla. And you were having your quesadilla there.
Do you think he really remembers you, or do you think that he says that to everyone?
I think maybe why not? Why not? And this is one of the, I will call it the Mexican magic, Mexicans, we have our taquero. And there's a very special relationship with him. So I wouldn't be surprised he remembers me. Why not?
I guess that's the thing with the food we eat. It's not just about the complexity of the dishes or the quality of the ingredients. It's about the places we go to have it and the people we share it with. It's about 6 friends from opposite coasts of the US meeting up in Mexico City on a whim. Or about a father and a son and an old taquero who may or may not remember them.
That story was produced by Dan Semo. It's from the 3rd season of his project 14 Days, where he produces a short audio story every day over 2 weeks. Check our show notes for a link to the project. Whether you're a storyteller or story lover, tune in to new All the Best episodes each Tuesday at 4 p.m. You'll discover stories created by a host of independent audio makers from so-called Sydney and around the country. Make sure to hit follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, or tune into FBI Radio 94.5 at 9:30 a.m. on Sundays. All the Best is made at FBI Radio on Gadigal land in association with SIN on Wurundjeri Woi Wurrung and Boon Wurrung lands and ACCC on Arrente and Warramungu lands. The All the Best editorial producer is Mel Bakewell, and Phoebe Adler-Ryan is our executive producer. Patrick McKenzie is our community coordinator, and thanks to all the volunteers who help to bring you all the best each week. Shining Bird composed our theme music, and Annie Hamilton designed the artwork. We're heard across Australia on the Community Radio Network, and were made possible by the Art Gallery of New South Wales and the Community Broadcasting Foundation. You can find our full archive of more than 500 episodes at allthebestradio.com. I'm Kwame Slusher. Thanks for listening.
We are going to hear some fun music. We want to start the party. What are we going to do about the curly hair?
You know the one that I mean. You know the one that I'm speaking of, my friends. Yes, yes.
What are we going to do?
Going to do
about the curly hair? Why,
Have you met the demon move next door? Walk barefoot, no shoes on the floor. In the driveway of 99 Rodeo with a light on fire spray painted on the trailer. I said he better not be in trouble. Been living on the squad in the 50-year bubble. My brother-in-law plays golf with the police constable, and I also subtle in all our struggles, yeah. Better clutch your bag and think twice. Knocking at the door with spicy red rice. Don't hear me speak and talk very nice. Brenda, won't you please just take my advice and run for your life? Yeah.
What are we going to do?
Going to do
about the curly hair?
You know the one that I'm speaking of, yes, yes.
What are we going to do
Going to do
about the curly hair?
Oh, yeah.
Why,
One is fine, two is trouble, three, and I'm calling the police constable. If you're gonna have any of them here, best to have a mix. You don't want too many in the same place, yeah. I don't want any other voodoo. There must be someone for us to do. The precincts they still need chorus for black juju. The city of this town you suffer and avoid, don't you?
the one, you know the one.
The young man with the curly hair, my friend, never to be seen here again.
The one, you know the one.
The young man with the curly hair, my friend, never to be seen here again. Never to be seen here again. Smell it late at night, better not break into this house of mine. I jump over the back fence through the garden, nothing to find. Yet the smell drives me out of my mind. Honestly, I don't feel safe. Doesn't he know it's 1 p.m. on a Wednesday in the shed blowing out Bob Marley, hip hop, metal, marijuana music. I can barely hear Sky music so intrusive. Doesn't he know that I have to get at 6 a.m. to change? So I'm moving on, move them on, move them on. Get them out, get them out, get them out, get them out.
What are we going to do about the curly hair?
We are now everywhere. Everybody deserves a great day. Oh, if you find me with a serious fight, we are not going to break the mud today. We are not going to break the mud today. You are
Bye-bye, my friend. Never to be seen again. We treated him so nice while singing off toast. As he's leaving town for the dog bus. Backing up and nothing grows. Leaving town and all he knows. And you know I'm gonna miss my friend. I'm so quiet again. The young man with the curly hair, my friend, never to be seen here again.
We are going to continue our reputation